Senator Sparrow.
I move for the adoption of Senate Resolution number 2.
Senator Slom.
I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Slom.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to discuss the omission of our former Rule 8, which had to do with invocation. Former Rule 8 said that each day's sitting of the Senate shall open with an invocation. We traditionally have done that. I noticed that we did not do that today, although we did have an invocation yesterday on the first day of the session. I was part of a 3-member Senate committee during the interim to examine possible guidelines for invocation. We had input from community sources. We had input from two deputy attorney generals. And I thought that we had come away from that with the idea that, in fact, we would have some voluntary guidelines, and that possibly even the invocation would be prior to the official start of the daily session. It would not appear on the order of the day, but in fact would still be a voluntary part of this legislative session, as it has been traditionally for many decades. We know, Mr. President, that the Supreme Court has ruled definitively in the past that the use of invocations by legislative bodies is legal, constitutional, and appropriate. We took note that yesterday, Mr. Danny Kellikini gave us the invocation where the deity's name was invoked. We had wonderful entertainment by the chorus from Kamehameha schools, and their songs and their lyrics invoke the deity. I think that we have had no problem in the past with stressing that our invocation is both traditional, customary, but it's also voluntary. We've had members of the Senate body that have chosen not to be present at the Senate, on the Senate floor, when the invocation was given, and that, of course, is their right. We've also had the opportunity for all senators to give an invocation of their choice, or to select a staff member, or to invite someone from the community. I don't know of any problems that we have encountered, save two. One from an organization in the community that nationally has had as its, I guess, overall objective to get rid of all prayer and invocation in all public bodies. They threatened the Honolulu City Council, and they were successful. The City Council backed away from that. Then we have an individual that represents an organization, and he has, for many years, taken up the cause of not allowing us to have an invocation. But from the general public, Mr. President, I think that we have very strong support. I think that many people were very gratified yesterday at the presentations that were made here, and that they feel that something would be missing, and that the Senate must stand for something and not back away when there are challenges by individuals or by organizations, as I say, that make it their point nationally to have this as an objective. I think that it's important that we stress the need that, as smart as we may be, as intelligent as we may be, that we can still call on someone higher to help us and guide us. And again, I stress that it's fine that this is voluntary. I'm also in full concurrence that we don't have to have this as part of the order of the day, if that's what the colleagues and members want. But I think for us to take this out of our rules, and also to, by omission, tell the community that we no longer think that this is important, I think that this is a mistake. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Voluntary.
Thank you, Mr. President. We appreciate the comments of our colleague from Hawaii Kai. For the purpose of clarity, and indeed the Senate rules as proposed do not include a mandate for daily invocations. These proposed Senate rules are not, and have never been, all-encompassing of every instance of legislation procedure possible. Therefore, the rule allows us, as a body, to use our discretion and and flexibility to conduct invocations when we so determine. The Senate will continue to explore the issue and can develop a policy for the proper implementation of invocations that is constitutionally sound. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further discussion? If not, all those... Senator Slom.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. President. Just a brief rebuttal. I would say that, first of all, the constitutionality issue is not an issue here that's been resolved previously. Secondarily, I certainly think that it would be appropriate if you want to use the word mandate, and you know that I don't like mandates and I don't like bans. If we would adopt the previous Rule 8 and amend the wording to say each day's sitting of the Senate may open with an invocation, I think that still would get the message across. It still would allow us the flexibility. But I think that by taking it out of the rules completely and saying we're going to look at it sometime later, I think that this gives the wrong message to the public, that in fact we are unwilling to stand by some principles. So if you did that, if you reintroduce that as a rule with the change in word from shall to may, I think that still would accomplish what you want, would be flexible. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is carried. Senate Resolution number 2 has been adopted. Madam Clerk.
No further business, Mr. President.